So, ma'am, we are live now. You can start.
Okay, sure. Okay, so apprenticeship, as you would know, the apprenticeship is again not a new word in the skilling ecosystem, and it has been there since very very long, and especially in the global countries, like we have heard this term used quite often, especially in synonymous with the on-the-job training, right? So, what is apprenticeship? So, basically, apprenticeship is required in today's world to bridge the demand and supply gap. So, on one hand, we have these industries who are eagerly waiting for skilled manpower, or they always keep on complaining about unemployed or unemployable people, and other side we have the huge pool of manpower who's just passed out from schools, from colleges, and who are also waiting for an appropriate opportunity to get absorbed in any of the industries, right? So this is where you kind of bridge the gap between demand and supply, because here you have the companies and the manpower and the employable manpower, I would say. So they can come together and get into one platform where the company can themselves train them under their own supervision and in under their own mentorship, right? So basic difference between internship and apprenticeship. So I think we generally use these two terms synonymously. We kind of get confused what is apprenticeship and what is internship, and people think it is one and the same thing. But here is a word of cautious. These two are very very different from each other. Though you will only find one common factor, which is on the job training in both the both the form of trainings, but apprenticeship is more regularized. I mean, when we talk about regulation, that means it has a written contract, which is, it is between the employer and the candidate, and it has a structured training. Structured training means you have to have, follow a curriculum, a pattern of curriculum, a duration pattern, and all of those. Where in internship there is nothing of the sort. It is also abided by a legal framework. I mean, a government, there's a law which is governing the apprenticeship rules and the regulations. Then you also have the additional component, which is called the classroom training or the basic training, which we popularly know as. And in internship will not find this kind of a concept. And finally, you will, as an apprentice, at the end of the training, you will come out with a recognized qualification through an assessment and certification process. Whereas in internship, you don't find such a process, right? What are the benefits to the apprentices? So basically, when apprentice, especially if we talk about the larger benefit, then of course the apprentice become, he or she can become an employable after getting trained through rigorous processes and under trained manpower, right? They also the employers train their junior staff, especially, basically they can be acquainted with the company's culture, and once the employer recruit them after the apprenticeship training, they don't have to give them a different kind of what do you call, the orientation training once again, right? The apprentices also reach the productivity levels in the halfway, in the midway of the program. So these are the few things that we see in the industries. So when we talk about what is apprenticeship and why we need to follow apprenticeship, because see, apprenticeship is a law. I mean, it was established in 1961, and the law says like any employer having 30 and above employees, including their contractual staff, would they have to mandatorily engage apprentices within a band of 2.5% to 15%, which is prescribed by the government, right? But any employer having 4 to 29 manpower strength, so for them it is optional to engage apprentices, meaning they are encouraged to engage apprentices, but they will not be penalized if they don't. But for any enterprise which is having less than 3 manpower, they're not eligible to engage apprentices. So apprenticeship training, so it has two components. Like people think that only on the job training is apprenticeship training. No. So apprenticeship training, when we talk about two component, one is the basic training, the other one is the on the job training. Now the basic training is the theoretical part, the classroom training which is imparted before the starting of the on the job training. Now this is the training which is like it's like an orientation module. It's like the theory portion, which is imparted of the curriculum, which is very important, and you would not be able to understand the concepts, like if you don't do a classroom kind of a training, right? But this does not contain too much of or consume too much of the duration. It is up to 20 to 25% of the total duration. On the job training, on the other hand, consumes the larger chunk of the whole apprenticeship training, which is about accounting for about 75% to 80% as per the curriculum, right? And during the whole apprenticeship training, the employer, it is mandatory for them to pay a stipend, a prescribed stipend, a minimal stipend to the apprentices. So the prescribed stipend is dependent on the education qualification which the candidate possess, like and but that has to be mentioned in the curriculum. Now this is something as low as 5,000 to 9,000, depending on the classroom, the class, the education that the candidate has. But in basic training, the employer can choose to pay half of its stipend. I mean, it's not required to pay the full stipend, because there are a lot of industries who did, who have actually raised their concerns that they are not able to, give. Because they're not reaching the productivity level during the basic training, right? The basic training, although it is like 1 2 3 months, but still it affects the production of the industries, right? If we talk about the landscape of apprenticeship, so this is how it looks. Like we have the Central Apprenticeship Council, which is again headed or chaired by the Honorable Minister of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. And we have two different jurisdictions, what we popularly call them as. One is central government jurisdiction, the other one is state jurisdiction. Now, the central government has two different bodies. One is the Ministry of Skill Development, again, which runs the apprenticeship program through one DGT, which runs the designated trade component, and on the other hand, NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, which runs the optional trade component. This is along with the sector skill councils. Now, the other central government, which is again heading the technical apprenticeship system in the country, is MOE, a Ministry of Education, which runs its program through BOPT or BOAT, which is popularly known as BOAT or BOPT. All the central PSUs, the central government departments, the private establishments operating more than 4 states, they fall under the central jurisdiction. And on the other hand, we have the state government, where the state apprenticeship advisors or the state skill development mission, they spearhead the state apprenticeship program. Now, the state government departments, the state PSUs, the private establishments having less than presence in 3 or less states, so they have they fall under the state jurisdiction. Now, this is the clear definition of apprenticeship. Now, what are the reforms which the Apprentices Act, the government has actually brought into the apprenticeship program? Now, the first thing, it has introduced a band of engaging apprentices, which is in between 2.5%, which is the minimum. 2.5% is the minimum, up till 15%, which is the maximum band where you can actually engage apprentices, right? Now, flexibility, when we talk about duration, the duration is something where you can actually engage apprentices anywhere between 6 months to 36 months, depending on the curriculum, of course, but it is left to the industry to choose the curriculum. And also the other flexibility is like you can conduct the basic training in-house if you have the required facility and the infrastructure to conduct this training, right? When we talk about the trades, we have more than 500 trades available on the portal. I think there would be around 400 and above trades in optional trade and 264 trades in designated trades. The optional trade, as you know, the as per the name suggests, like it is this is a industrial friendly trade where you can actually come up with your own requirements with your as per your technology requirement and as per your current or future requirement. You can design the trade and engage the apprentices on the same trade. And when we talk about inclusivity, yes, the services sector has also been opened up for engaging apprentices. So before it was only limited to manufacturing sector, and anybody who is class 5 and above can be engaged as an apprentices. So it is not only restricted to degree or diploma or ITI student, but anybody who is class 5 and above or who has done a short-term training can be engaged as apprentices. Now the whole process of apprenticeship has become very, very automated because it is very convenient for the users, because they can just log in the apprenticeship portal, which is apprenticeshipindia.org, which is a unified portal of designated and optional trade, and they can carry on the activities in the portal itself. Don't have to run from pillar to post to kind of get your document uploaded or to get your anything approved, right? It all happens on the portal. Now this last point is very important. It's like moving away from the regulation to self-regulation. Now what does it mean? It means like the sector skill council, the sector skill council are the industrial representative, right, for one particular sector. Now the CEO of the sector skill council has been authorized as the joint apprenticeship advisor. As you would know, the whole apprenticeship program are governed by the apprenticeship advisors. Now this CEO has been made as apprenticeship advisor to rule or regulate the industry, the optional trades, which is falling under the central jurisdiction companies. Now this is a very beautiful thing which government has actually introduced, like an industry body regulating the industry. So which I think it cannot be more flexible than this, right? Some key legalities which need to be kept in mind is one, of course, the apprentices are not to be considered as workers. They have always been considered as trainees, meaning any labor law which is applicable to workers will not apply to apprentices. And apprentices have been also exempted from PF and ESIC payment. So this is as per the PF Act and the ESIC Act, right? And one more important thing that government has done is like it is the the companies which are actually engaging more than 2.5%, more than bare minimum is 2.5%, right? So more than that, if some company has engaged apprentices, they can account their fund or their spendings under the CSR funding. So this is also I think a clarification that we got from the MOCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Now, though government has actually made the whole Apprentices Act very, very flexible to welcome more and more industries. And top of it, government has also introduced a scheme called National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme in 2016, where it has launched two financial incentive. One, the sharing of basic training, part, the basic training reimbursement, which is up to 7,500 or 300 for 3 months or 500 hours roughly, and sharing of the prescribed stipend, sharing of the so basically reimbursement of the prescribed stipend up to 1,500 rupees. So these two are the financial incentive which has been introduced by the government. This is basically to encourage the MSME sectors, like of course the bigger organizations, the large industry would not require, maybe would not require such a funding, but it is an option for the industries to avail these financial incentive, but you can also opt out of it, so there should not be a problem. But for the just to share a small burden of the industry of the MSME sector, government has introduced this scheme. Now, when we talk about the benefits of apprenticeship globally, so this is a study which is done by ILO, where there have been some comparative analysis given, like in Netherlands, like the unemployment rate of the graduates. When you talk about school-based vocationalized training, so it is 11 to 30%, whereas apprentices it is only 3%, right? So there is when you talk about return on investment, one if you spend $1 or £1 in UK or in US, you will actually get something around 26 to 28 pound and 36 US dollars in return. Needless to say, say like the productivity increases, the motivation level increases, retention rate, the competitiveness increases manifold when you engage apprentices. Now, this is a study which has been revealed through different, taking into consideration different countries, and is done by ILO. When ILO has given much emphasis on apprenticeship, they have come out with something like quality apprenticeship. I have done a course in quality apprenticeship, like, and they have. I think some of you would have joined these online, the virtual courses as well. So there are a lot of emphasis given on apprenticeship lately. This is one study which we did with Dalberg and FCDO. FCDO was earlier DFID. So this is done on the Indian companies. Like, this was done in 2019, where we found out, like, we've taken a sample of 100 companies, and we found out that 67 of the companies see a net value, a positive value in apprenticeship. Whereas 57 of the percent of the enterprises, they see a long-term benefits of engaging apprentices, right? Benefit cost ratio is something around 1.3 to 1.9 times. And amazingly, like 20 to 50% of absorption rates that they have found from this study. And the last, and not the list, of course, 60 to 80% of the apprentices, they reach their desired productivity level in the halfway through their apprenticeship training. Like, as you would know, that I've just mentioned that apprentices are not considered to be workers, but then they have proven that all of at least 60 to 80% of the apprentices, they have actually reached that productivity levels. Some of the bigger companies, big names in different sectors, it doesn't mean that the list is restrictive. No, it is just like to give a heads up of the company across India. But it's like there's been almost more than 5,500 companies which are listed on our portal. There is a glimpse of our portal, which is apprenticeshipindia.org. You will see a lot of manuals, user manuals, the instructional videos on the Get Started button for all the users, for candidate, the establishment, basic training providers, a third-party aggregator. For all of them, there is an instructional manual for every step. This is the life cycle of the optional trade. So when we talk about apprentice, so you have the establishment registration, the candidate registration, then the establishment designs the course, or they can adopt the course which has already been designed. They can search a candidate and make an offer. They create an opportunity, publish the opportunity. Once they get the candidate, they sign and upload the contract. Once the contract is verified, they conduct the basic training and the OJT. They submit their claims and the reimbursement process. They also conduct the assessment and certification. Now, all of these are live, but except for assessment and certification module, which will be live maybe in month of April or month of end of March. All of these processes can be handled by a TPA, or it can be handled by the establishment themselves. Now, TPA, just a heads up on TPA, like the TPA is something which is, again, as per law, a third party aggregator is somebody who assists the establishment to facilitate their complete program. starting from mobilizing the candidates, the industries, the assistant, the basic training providers, and of course not designing of the course directly, but they can help them choosing the course, of course, and they can connect to the appropriate sector skill council for any course designing. And the entire portal management is being done by the third party aggregators. Something in some initiatives that NSDC has done in the last few years. 2018 is when we actually got the optional trades, when we got the charge of optional trade, which is given by the ministry. So basically, we have designed the user-friendly portal for both optional and designated trade. Of course, there has been rigorous promotion, advocacy with the stakeholders, with different SSCs, the TPAs, industry associations, the clusters, and all the operational frameworks, the SOPs, the instructional manuals for the for the portal usage or any other guidelines are being developed. Stakeholder facilitation. So there's this drive of suggestions which has been invited by the ministry to welcome any initiative or any suggestions or recommendations on the Apprentices Act and rules amendment, which has been conducted by NSDC again. Then I've just shown you the study which is done with, in collaboration with FCDO and Dalberg on benefits of apprenticeship. And of course, we are also into degree apprenticeship initiatives with a few SSCs and some of the industries. So I would like to end the presentation here, but I am sure there are many of the questions which the participant would like to ask. So I think the floor is open for any questions and answer round. Thanks.
Thanks, Pankuri, for an excellent presentation. I'm sure the partners here would have gotten a fair bit of idea on the kind of benefits that the government is actually coming up with for the employers, for the industry partners. And this is no doubt a program which has been successful. And there are examples to quote across the world. And I think one key difference I want to highlight here is that there has been a NATS program, but this particular program, there's been huge changes to make it very industry friendly, and it's become very, very easy for the industry partners to come forward. Can I request Pawan to come forward? Pawan is a placement officer who handles apprenticeship within IPSC. Pawan, if you could give some examples of how industry partners have used the scheme, some examples within the plumbing sector, and then we'd like to also then start taking up some questions and comments as well.
Thank you, Varun sir, for the opportunity. Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Pankuri, for accepting the invitation and taking your time from your busy schedule. Thank you very much. So, coming to the question, yes, I have been, working in this area. I work as a placement and apprenticeship manager in the council, and I have been working in this sector for past 1 year, and I have interacted with a lot of industry partners, a lot of contractors, a lot of industry partners. And the one thing which came up, that there is a huge requirement of skilled manpower, but we do not have that supply to fulfill that requirement. So we all know that any company who want to achieve the target or want to sustain in the market, they have to have a good manpower. Until and unless they do not have the skilled manpower, they cannot sustain in the market. So what the major challenge that we face, that although the first thing is that we despite of a lot of promotion from NSDC and great involvement of the company, and personally as a sector skill council, we do not have the adequate participation from MSMEs. either it has to be not good knowledge on apprenticeship, and sort of pre-minded a concept that they had. They first, they used to have a lot of obligation and a lot of constraints in terms of appointing apprentices. But now with the intervention of government and a lot of reforms being made recent years, now it becomes very easy and very user friendly to appoint apprentices. But but we do not have a good participation from MSD, which is a very huge setback in terms of appointing apprentices. But yes, we have been able to, as a sector skill council, we have been able to advocate and provide a good amount of knowledge through meeting them virtually and setting up meeting with them, and and convince them. We have been able to convince them, yes, this is a right thing which can be added to the company, and it is very productive, and at the same time it is delivering the result. So we have, for an example, Sarah Sanitary Ware Manufacturing Limited from Gujarat. We so with the help of TPA, and I also personally interacted with them. Early they had a wrong conception, but when they implemented this scheme, when they hire candidate from this portal and implemented apprentices in their system, now they share their success stories with us. I also share with the NSDC. You might have come across these stories, because because it gives you a chance to hire skilled manpower who knows your eco culture, who knows your entire work. He's trained. You do not need to put a special person to hire them and to guide them. They're already trained, so you do not need to waste time and money on them. They start delivering the moment you make them appointed in your company. So this is the thing which is we have been able to cater, and we are in a way, me, Varun sir, Gunjan ma'am, entire council, we are advocating as much as in industry partner we can, with the help of TPA, with the help of industry partner, with the help of training partners, and we are creating awareness. But yes, there much thing which needs to be done. We have to for an example, we are in government is incentivizing incentivizing companies, but we have to think slightly in a different way how we can incentivize candidate also, so that they can be you know uh, well supported, and can be more take more interest on this area, and how they can approach their career in this sector. So we, as a sector skill council, we have prepared a lot of curriculum: plumber general, plumber assistant manufacturing product. We have a few curriculum is lined up, yet to be approved. So as a sector skill council, we are preparing and we are creating more and more scope, how we can attract more industry partners, more training partners, more corporates, and more MSD to participate in. And once they this is just a matter of participating and hiring candidate from this scheme. Once they hire the candidate, they know what is the benefit, and how they do, you do not need to waste time and money on them.
I think,
I think we've lost him. So uh,
yeah.
I'll summarize
We are
what
advocating.
Pawan's intent. Pawan, I think we lost you in between, Pawan. So I think essentially what the NSDC, the IPSC, the whole Skill India mission, how we're actually able to support the industry partners. One is, of course, there are certain job roles that are already available. You have manpower. If you're hiring them within those job roles, you can simply take apprentices in those job roles, which are NSQF aligned. There are some more curriculums that we've prepared, something like sanitary ware manufacturing assistant, which Sarah has actually taken in Gujarat. And there are various job roles that we can prepare if in case there is a specific requirement which is not there at the moment in terms of a curriculum, that can actually be created by IPSC. Of course, NSDC's team and Pankuri personally is involved in approving those, vetting those, and ensuring that they're aligned to the norms that need to be maintained. And once they've been approved, companies can actually have their own curriculums put in as well. And that's where we can handhold all of y'all as well. Companies like Serra, Jaguar, Aquaviva, Hindware, to name a few, have actually taken up apprentices. You can, industry partners that are with us, some kind of job roles where you can actually take on apprentices as plumbing products, sales officers, after sales service people that you're hiring. You can actually take up apprentices that can work under these job roles. And these are some job roles where you'd actually be not only getting incentivized by the central government or under the scheme, but as Pawan mentioned, there are certain state level incentives as well. For example, Gujarat offers, I believe, 1,500 a month.
Yeah, 1,500 to 3,000. It depends on the qualification of the candidate.
Perfect. So the states are also taking active interest, and I think that's where you need to connect. The employers need to connect on the portal to the SSCs, to the NSDC, where we can handhold you and actually make sure that those benefits that the government is providing are actually coming across to you. So on that note, some questions that have come through from social media, because we've been trying to promote this on WhatsApp and everything as well. One question that's come up, Pankuri, and I'd like to put this across to you, is in case, so this person's a contractor himself, but they don't hire directly, but they've got an agency that provides the manpower. So will that be considered?
No, so basically, as per the law, so it is, you have to be the principal employer who will pay, who will engage the apprentices and pay from your own account. So that will be considered as your employment or your apprentices. So if you engage apprentices through a third party agency, so it will be considered, so those apprentices will be considered on their account, not on your account.
Fair enough. So if I understand that correct, for the people that you're going to be paying PF ESI, that's the number of people or manpower that should be considered.
That
and
should be
the 2.5
yes.
to
Calculated, yes,
for the calculations.
Yes.
Fair enough. So that's an important aspect that I think when in the construction and the plumbing industry that plays a major role, because there are manpower sourcing companies and contractors that are actually providing the manpower as well. Another question that's come through, and this is I believe from one of the contractors itself, is I only do projects for limited time, around 6 to 8 months. So this is a common thing as well that we generally hear within the plumbing industry. If there's a contractor that wants to hire apprentices and they've only got projects for a limited time, 6 to 8 months, maybe 12, how can they participate?
So that doesn't matter, because they as I've stated in my presentation, that anything from between 6 months to 36 months they can engage apprentices, right? So depending on the curriculum that the plumbing sector would provide, so they can choose any of those curriculum which has minimum duration. So anything minimum is 6 months and it can go up to 36 months.
Perfect. I think we've got one of our partners from Pune. They're a training partner, and they've been working extensively with industry partners as well. Mr. Abhimat, would you like to come forward and ask the question?
Hi, Varun. Thank you.
Hi, sir.
Hello. Can you hear me?
You're audible.
Yes, right. Abhaji, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks for this, sort of communication that you have, and for this session. It is going to help us in future.
Your voice is stuck.
So we are taking some baby steps in terms of,
Mr. Mat, we're not able to hear you. I think आपकी आवाज कट रही है.
He's on mute.
Hello. I'm not on the mute.
Abhay, I think आपकी आवाज बीच में कट गई थी. There might have been a connectivity issue. Can you ask your question again, please?
Okay, now is it okay?
Yeah, better.
Much better.
Okay. Okay. So basically, we are also trying to find, because we are in this field for 10 years in plumbing. And we have, sort of recruited till so far 1,500 candidates, so which includes Karnataka and Rajasthan as well. So now the challenge that we see, the total project duration may not be actually fitting into the scheme of 6 months. Always. It may vary from even 3 months to 4 months. And that is the challenge. Other way that we can try out with, the contractor moves the candidates, moves the employees from one construction group to another construction group, right? So the contractor will be an employer in this case, right? So we will have to do a sort of a MOU with the contractor for an engagement.
I would request
For
the
a
others to
minimum
please
6
be on
months.
mute.
Is that a possible solution for this kind of a scenario? Because we are already trying to discuss with few contractors who are the big players in Pune. Over to you, Varun.
Varun,
So-
I think you might want to summarize the question.
Yes, I'll summarize and then I'll get your comments on that, Pankuri.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Abhayji, good thing is that you actually asked the question and half of it you answered yourself, which is good.
Okay.
Yes, that is the right way of doing it. Basically, a contractor might be hiring manpower and they might have multiple projects running. So if one project is complete, the manpower can actually move to the other project. Because at the end of the day, the contractor is the person that's hiring those candidates as an apprentice. So the apprentice can actually move from side to side. That is not an issue. The only necessary part to be focused on is the fact that they have to be part of the apprenticeship for the entire duration. Pankuri, please add if you'd like.
So basically here the 2 points which I would like to highlight, and I think that his problem is, one, of course, the duration issue, which is as per Abhayji, it is 3 to 4 months on one side, and then again some more time in other side. First of all, as Varun correctly said, like, you have to follow the entire duration of the curriculum which is mentioned, which is prescribed, right? Which may be 6 months to anything beyond that. Now, when we talk about moving from one client to another client, now as per Act, if you see the current Act, it says like the employer, they need to make provision in their workplace to to train the apprentices. Now, in the proposed amendment that is going through, I mean, it is still under consideration at the ministry level. One of the amendment is to allow working in multiple location in client's location, right? Which was not allowed which was not specifically allowed in the current Act. So after doing this, what will happen? Like, your second problem will get solved, which is like moving from one client location to another client location. So meaning that you don't have to put him on one particular place. He can actually get trained in his client location as well, like, which can be multiple client location. So this is the second issue. But again, considering both the client location, if you want to have engage him for whatever duration, so but one thing for sure need to be considered is like the entire duration of the curriculum which is prescribed should be met by the apprentice, because ultimately this is not an employment, this is a training that you are imparting, right? So if there are certain competencies which are required to be achieved during that particular duration, it has to be met, right? So this is how this is the approach that we should take.
I have one sort of a clarification here. Typically, the sector that we are working in is most unorganized. Okay. So now when we say it's an apprenticeship, to that extent, when a candidate is hired after a training is complete, which is as per the IPSC norms, the candidate goes and start working. Right now, if we want to treat that as an apprenticeship with a specific curriculum, for those 3 months, 6 months, which is a very difficult scenario. We have tried it in some of the cases earlier on the job training kind of.
In this case, I think you are going completely wrong if you are taking this approach. If you are thinking that after training, the candidate will be engaged and he will have to follow a particular, curriculum. So this is not what apprenticeship means. Apprenticeship means training. So you cannot say like before or after training. So when you're talking about after training, means what? Like, what is it that you have actually trained on and train him on, right? So the training itself is called apprenticeship. Apprenticeship ka matlab work nahi hai, workers nahi hai. Apprentices are not workers. आप उनको employment नहीं दे रहे हो, आप उनको training दे रहे हो, ठीक है? So your concept, like after training you hire them as apprentice and deploy them for any work, this is wrong. आप उसको उनको ट्रेनिंग दे रहे हो, आप पहले उनको एंगेज कर रहे हो. दैट्स व्हाई वी डोंट इवन कॉल द वर्ड हायर, वी कॉल इट एंगेज. लाइक आप एंगेज कर रहे हो एज अप्रेंटिस, उनको आप ट्रेनिंग दे रहे हो ऑन अ पर्टिकुलर करिकुलम. उसके बाद आपके ऊपर है whether you want to retain them in your organization or you want to just assess them and certify them and then release them, right? This is what is apprenticeship.
Absolutely. And I'll just add to what
offline discussion with Varun. Varun, I'll have an offline discussion on this.
Yes,
there are a lot of
discussion
about when you come to Plumb.
Bilkul. Yeah. So
sure.
With respect to how this actually works, Abhayji, like Pankhuri mentioned, essentially what needs to happen here is somebody who is an apprentice is an actual trainee, and they don't necessarily have to actually go through classroom training and then get into as an apprentice. As an apprentice, they actually earn while they learn. That's the whole concept here. We'll take this offline, and we'll, as a training partner, you'd like to connect with the employers and try and understand how you can build something. We can support you there. And we'll handle you in terms of a little more understanding on how this works. We do have a question. We are a MEP contractor. How can this help us, or we can contribute? Please advise Mr. Gyaneshwar. Gyaneshwar ji, are you there? We'd like to speak to you as well. Not sure if you're.
Yes.
Hi, Gyaneshwar ji.
Yeah, yes.
You're an MEP contractor. How can this help you? We'd like to ask you a few questions, perhaps do a quick exercise and tell you how this can actually help you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
How many people do you hire, sir?
The total employees are total 900 to 1,000.
That you
and generally
directly?
Yes, these are on our roles.
Okay.
And what we hire we give the contractors. We engage the contractors for the particular projects, different projects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and also we take the trainees also for the particular year, around 40 to 50 trainees, diploma, DET, GET.
Okay.
So, we have to contribute to, this is also like an apprentice only, no? Because we are giving the trainings to the 40 to 50.
So I'll let Pankhuri answer that, but Gyaneshwarji, what I'd just like to highlight here is, yes, you no doubt are contributing. However, perhaps you're missing out on some of the incentives that the government has actually put forth.
Yeah. So Gyaneshwarji, I think what Varun is trying to say here, see, as an organization and as per your the number of employees goes, you are definitely you have to mandatorily engage apprentices. Usme to koi doubt nahi hai. And perhaps you are doing it, perhaps you are training them, but as I have just mentioned that in apprenticeship you have to follow a pattern, a set pattern, a set standard. Now you to be under the apprenticeship program, what you need to do is like you need to go to the portal. I think Pavan and his team can help you in this. So you have to enter into this into this portal, register yourself, your organization, and then you select the curriculum which is already uploaded on the portal, if it suits your requirement. Then आप उसमें उस curriculum में आप उनको आप जिन बच्चों को आप training already दे रहे हो उनको ही आप register करवा सकते हो. We have a bulk upload feature as well. So they can also get registered on the portal, and then you can create the contract and all of those, and then you will actually you can say that okay, you are under the apprenticeship program. So but as of now, though you would be training them, but it would be like an informal kind of a training. So just to formalize the whole thing, you have to register on the portal and then follow the process. Okay? Does it answer?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So Gyaneshwar ji, as Pankuri highlighted, it is mandatory because आपकी 30 से ज़्यादा है, you're hiring people, so it is definitely mandatory. और इसको पूरा करने में IPSC की टीम मदद करेगी. I've asked Pawan to put in his details in the chat box. Pawan, please put your details in the chat box for everybody so that you can connect with them. Gyaneshwar ji, would be great if you can perhaps send me or Pawan your details, and we will connect with you and help you in getting the apprenticeship scheme put through in your organization. We do have a question from Mr. Amar Prabhu. Mr. Prabhu, would you like to come forward and ask the question? I'm just going to give you a request to unmute yourself, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Amar here from Don Bosco, Kurla.
Hi, Amarji. How are you?
Yes, fine, fine. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Just a couple of things, I'm looking at the modus of operandi for this particular thing. So as we rightly know, there are two types of apprenticeship: designated trade and non-designated trade. Okay, so are we looking plumbing as a non-designated trade under IPSC model? That is what my first question is. Second is that, see, we have some students who have passed out from our institution with our own certification, and they are now available, like for example, they are working, but can we put them under the apprenticeship? If that's the case, then what would be the duration of theirs? Because we have the NCVT trade also, which is a designated trade under plumbers. So we know that the 1 year is a duration for them. Whereas in the case of the Sector Skill Council, there are the different modules are there. So how do we register this candidate? Do we have to register on the portal, or does the Sector Skills Council will help us in registering these candidates on the portal? So these are the few questions I have. Thank you.
I think Varun, you should answer this.
Sir, I think what I'd like to start with is there's more flexibility here. There's much more flexibility in what we are able to provide you through this Apprenticeship India portal that NSDC has created. One size fit all concept is long gone. It probably won't work. So with the amount of options that are available, I think it is very important for you to become a part of this portal, put through your candidates through this portal, because there's going to be good opportunities that your candidates will be able to get through these portals. And of course, there are companies applying. You can have your candidates actually see those opportunities that are there and apply themselves as well. And you can, of course, handhold them. We've got our team that would be helping you in doing such those aspects as well. Mr. Pavan Shah will be, I'll ask Mr. Pavan to connect with you, and he'll be able to kind of support you there. Pankuri, anything that you'd like to add in this?
No, I think you have explained him beautifully. So Mr. Amar, basically the concept here is like you can choose any of the trades depending on your requirement. So this is, government does not differentiate between designated and optional. In designated, only limitation is like you can only find around 264 something trades, and these are all centrally notified. Whereas in optional, you have flexibility to add on more courses. Like we have a list of QPs which can which can be converted to apprenticeship curriculum. So that is one flexibility that we have in optional trade. So this is the only difference. But depending on your curriculum, so depending on your need in the sense, the company ka need hoga. So depending on that need, you can choose any of these trades, be it designated or be it optional, provided that the trade is available. Even if there's no trade available, then you can create one, and that will be also under optional trade, which I think the sector skill council can step in and they can help you creating the curriculum. This is how we deal with the optional trade, the curriculum, and the duration and entirely, and all of those will depend on the curriculum that you choose.
And Mr. Prabhu, I just add to what Pankuri's mentioned. Basically, if you do have any company that's approached you that have a specific requirement and you're not able to find a particular job role that suits their need, please get in touch with us. We'll support and help in creating. It's not that we are going to create ourselves. We'll actually be speaking to that company, understanding the requirement and creating something which they will use. It will incorporate their requirements, what they would expect the candidates to learn, to do whilst they're engaged as apprentices. And that's where we can support you and actually start building something in terms of curriculum and, a particular program itself for apprenticeship. And this is not just limited to the lower NSQF job roles. As Pankuri mentioned, this is for the audience that's here. It can actually be done in higher level job roles as well. Degree apprenticeship programs where university students, college students can also look at, coming in as an apprentice in some of the higher level job roles that are already present.
And also the candidates who have, because you are a university, and so they, or college, so the candidates who have passed out.
Pankuri, we've lost you there. Whilst Pankuri is coming back, Mr. Prabhu, you have another question.
Yes, just a leading question to the same thing. How many subjects do they have for when they are doing the apprenticeship training, and who certifies at the end of the day, like after the training period?
We will do that, sir. We'll do the certification. And in terms of subjects, for the ones that are already there, it's been mentioned. For the ones that are not and you'd like to create, that's something that we will do by speaking to the companies and understanding the requirement. Based on the requirement, based on the outcomes that are expected of an apprentice, that format our team understands well, we will put the details in that format and put it forward to NSDC for approval. It actually starts showing onto the system. So for example, the sanitary ware manufacturing assistant job role was actually something that we created with a lot of support from Hindware HSIL's team. We understood the requirement. Based on their requirement, what the outcomes were, we actually created a curriculum. We put it up online. And, since the industry is same, Hindware ke saath milke humne create kiya, and Sera is actually using that as well. So that's something that actually ends up happening when we do something like this. I think we've lost Pankuri's connection. She's trying to log in, but I don't think she's been able to as yet. So we'll just wait for some more time to see if there's any other questions that anybody's got. I believe Pavan has already put in the details.
Yeah, so I have put in my details in the chat box, and Pankuri has just joined.
Hi, sorry, there was a power cut at my place, so the connectivity was lost. Yeah. Sorry, did we have any other question?
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions because we have few audiences and training partners are joining from YouTube and other media channels.
Okay.
So the question it is, I have also faced this challenge in terms of appointing apprentices, because a lot of plumbers doesn't have their school living certificates. When it comes to fifth pass out certificates or school dropout certificate or a school living certificate, they do not have that certificate to show or to upload on the portal. So they get challenges in terms of converting those candidates into apprentices. So is there any way or is there any solution that NSDC has found or any undertaking which needs to be provided by SSC?
See, this is something which we have faced too many times. I mean, this is a very common question nowadays, and I think I have responded at least minimum 5 times a day. I do respond to such questions. So yeah, so basically what happened is like because we did face these questions in many of the webinars and through industries as well. So what we did, like we did I mean we had a small consultation with few of the sector skill council and few of the TPAs as well, and we did found a solution that maybe a self declaration with a followed by a assessment, or very simple assessment at class 5 level or class 6 level, can be conducted by the establishment, and that can be considered as school pass out. But but when we forwarded this request to the ministry, now because this is an act, like in the act it is mentioned that a person eligibility is class 5 and above, pass out. So we cannot negate the requirement of the act. Now this is what ministry has proposed, that we cannot change the act at this point of time, but what they have suggested is like we have to put forward this proposal to the next central. I've just shown in my presentation that Central Apprenticeship Council, which is the apex body which takes the decisions on the apprenticeship related issues. So I think we will have to place this problem with the next in the next CAC meeting whenever it happens. And and it's long due, like when we had this in last July 2019. So of course, I mean, maybe government can announce it anytime soon, because we are looking at the act amendment as of now. So once the act will be amended, then we'll have to have this meeting, and there we will put forward this proposal. As of now, there is no other solution, because we tried our level best to put up this solution to ministry for their approval. But the self declaration, neither the assessment, nothing has been accepted by the government, and they've simply mentioned that the certificate is a must. So this is how the government has responded as of now. So as of
Needless to
now, I'm
say,
like,
the ecosystem is actually pushing for the requirements of the industry. Of course,
yeah,
it's become very flexible, but there are certain things that probably will take some more time,
yeah,
and this is one of them. But fact of the matter is that as compared to the previous act, this is, it's very simple.
yeah.
And I think
I have a couple
people
of
that
questions.
are missing out on utilizing this are actually missing out on a lot of incentives that the government is putting across for employers that are actually employing and doing regular coursework. Providing internships. Instead of internships, you just provide apprenticeships and get incentivized by the government. And I think that's the key message that we need to, or rather we want to highlight as well to the partners that are with us today. There is a question that's also come through. Is there any incentive for TPA currently?
Not from the government. Not from the government. The scheme has been closed. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But they can have a business model with their respective establishments.
Great. So there is an opportunity for people that are working as TPAs to actually connect with the employers, build a model around it, and actually work on this. In case of there is any help required, again, like we mentioned, we're more than happy to support, to handhold, and take things forward.
Yeah. So one more question is coming from one TPA through social media. So Pankhuri, is there any provision like the candidate is already was working somewhere. Now he resigned from his position. Now he want to work as an apprentice. So his PF and ESI were deducting from his earlier company.
Yeah.
So can he be considered as an apprentice?
So, okay. So basically, again, this is one of another question which is very commonly asked. See, the thing is, the idea of giving apprenticeship training or giving this opportunity to the newcomers is to accommodate those people who have just dropped out of the school, or they've just passed out from the school, or from any education system, or maybe who is unemployed. If somebody is already employed, and if he has been given, he has been his account was open in PF and ESIC and all of those, then he will be barred from apprenticeship. Now there might be some reason that he has been he has been unemployed again. And also to PF and ESIC Act does not allow such people to be under apprentices. So though apprenticeship does not have an upper limit of in age, but people who are already employed, they will not be considered as apprentices.
Okay. Okay, so I have one last question for you. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, that we are not getting adequate support from MSMEs, despite of having adequate numbers to appoint apprentices
Support from MSMEs in the sense,
from
I didn't
industry
get-
partners. Industry partners.
Hmm?
So they have a legitimate count.
Mhm.
Since it is a legal compliance that if they have certain size of a company like 30 or more, they have to appoint apprentices. But
Right.
despite of lot of discussion, lot of meeting, but we are not getting a good response from the company. So is there any way wherein SSC can act actively and can pressurize them, or sort of issue a legal show cause notice to them, so that for their active participation? This is my personal
See,
question.
okay, when we talk, when you, I mean, when we talk about the law definitely mentions anybody who is, any employer who is having 30 and above employees, they have to mandatorily engage apprentices. And secondly, the SSCs have been given an authority to become the joint apprenticeship advisor. Now, any of these organizations, if you know that, yes, these are, they have crossed 30 and above employees, then you can rightly issue a show cause notice if you think that is more easier to do. But again, for MSMEs, when we talk about the definition of MSMEs, is especially when we talk about the employees, then they fall under the category, the second category, which is between 4 to 29. Now, for them, you cannot punish them for not engaging apprentices, or you cannot like penalize them for that, right? But the only way out here is to encourage them to come and participate in this program. You have to see, I think advocacy is something which is the key of this program. When we talk about the program, it is you have to kind of build the capacity of these industries. You have to promote the program to them. You have to take the program to, like, you are doing this webinar. There's a very beautiful thing that you have done, and I think I can see more than 50 participants. So something like this sort, you can actually reach out to people. You can incentivize them more and more, not in terms of financial incentive, but also, like, taking the program to them. Because ultimately, see, the one motive is, of course, in any organization, in any enterprise, when they start up work, right, they need manpower, they need employable manpower. So why not apprentices? Why not they start with apprentices? Now you have to take this word forward to them, like, when they are engaging any employee, they're anyways devoting at least around 30 days to 60 days to train that employee, right? And also, when they're training the employee, they are giving him the full benefit, like I would say, not stipend, full payment, right, including your everything else, like your housing allowance, your blah blah, all of those things. But for apprentices, the government is saying that you have to give them a bare minimum prescribed stipend, right? So why don't you start the everything with apprentice, and then later on, if you think they are beneficial for your company, then you can always recruit them. So this is how you have to kind of take it forward to the Mr. Ankit, yeah. So this is how you have to take it forward to the MSMEs, and of course the bigger enterprises as well. Now there's another scheme which is called Strive. If you know about this program. So Strive is again a World Bank funded project, which is one of the component is apprenticeship. And the apprenticeships are basically they incentivize the industry clusters. They actually give a fund of around, I think, 1 crore in a year to engage apprentices. So they do a RFP program. Again, this whole program has been done by DGT. So you can choose anything between optional and designated trades. So you can also, in the sense, the industry clusters can actually participate in the in such of the program. So this is another way, like, how the government can incentivize. So these are the few ways how you can actually take the program to the, in mid of the industries.
So just a final question, Pankuri, and this is something that I would ask on behalf of some of the industry partners whom we've engaged with. And it's a very common question that comes up. People that are actually, aware of the whole ecosystem. Why NAPS? Why not NEEM? They've been using NEEM.
NEEM is, which is, I think NEEM is closed. The scheme is no longer valid. And Apprenticeship Act, if you talk about Apprentices Act, it actually recognizes optional trade, designated trade, and NATS, the National Apprenticeship Training Scheme. So NATS is being done through both. Now, there's a clear difference between optional, designated, and NATS. Now, optional trade and designated trade, remember the chart which I've just shown in very beginning of my presentation, the jurisdiction. So optional trade and designated trade are again, governed by the Ministry of Skill Development, whereas NATS has been governed by Ministry of Education. Now, NATS is specifically for, though they have a very different approach, they do incentivize the industries, the larger industries basically, and but they have a restricted entry, in the sense they have a very particular, they only allow technical graduates. Now here in optional trade is again when you have anybody who is beyond +5 can enter this program. Designated is again, they have a limited entrance, which is ITI programs. Even they do have categorization of +8 and above, but you would find, see, all the program have their own advantages and limitations, I would say. So again, it is totally depends on the industry to choose wisely between designated, optional, or the NATS program, depending on the requirement. See, many of the bigger PSUs, they do hire or engage through NATS program because they have been doing it traditionally. But many of the services sector, they find more, they find more relevance in optional trade, because that is the sector where it is kind of relates to their requirement. Then some of the manufacturing industries, they are sticking to designated because they have been training through the ITS students. They have been taking ITS students, and they're comfortable doing it. So we're not trying to change anything here. We're just trying to showcase the program as a whole. But having said that, the NEEM program is something which is not recognized under the Act. So that is something out of the Act, which is an initiative which is taken by the MOE. But as far as I know, it has been closed and it was under some refurbishing or something, but then it is not recognized as the apprenticeship program under the Act.
Perfect. So I think you've kind of framed it exceptionally well, and I think that will help us in being able to close with a few of our partners as well. Of course, and I would like to highlight one aspect that Pankuri just mentioned, the fact that we're not trying to create discomfort. The comfort level of the industry partners still remains. It is only a matter of doing it in a way where all your compliances are actually happening digitally and more effectively. And it's only a matter of understanding that, the amount of effort that is going into actually the compliance, perhaps with other mechanisms, this will be able to solve that same thing quite easily for you guys. So I think this is going to be a good takeaway for the industry partners. On that note, I think we've crossed the time limit that we had extensively. I appreciate your presence and your time, Pankuri. Thank you once again for joining in your exceptional elaborate presentation.
One last thing I would just like to comment here. This was something which Pawan asked in his initial apprehensions that he just shared. He talked about incentivizing the candidates. I just want to highlight in a very short this thing. See, we are not here to show a financial incentive or financial benefit to the apprentice. So we in the sense government believes that the candidate need to come to these programs. See why if you ask me, there should not be any differentiation between a general education and an apprenticeship program. Now for us, like for any candidate, government doesn't need to incentivize him to join a graduate program or a join a something like the B schools, right? He or the candidate does it by himself, like we are not here to
I think she's having network issues.
Yes, I think she's dropped, so we'll just wait. And I'll just add to add to what Pankri was mentioning. You see, this particular program has been designed in a way where it actually creates good value for all the stakeholders involved. When we start incentivizing everybody for even coming and studying, then it loses its essence of being able to actually, create an ecosystem of learning, evolving, and actually empowering somebody to be able to, train and then eventually become employable, whether it be at the same location itself or at a different one. Hi, Pankri. Hi everyone. So Pankri's had a power outage, so she's on the call. And with that note, Pankri, we'd like to thank you for being a part of this session. Thank you for your kind presentation and answering all the questions. We've been grilling you for the last half an hour with so many questions. We appreciate it. Yeah, you're back. Great. So thank you once again, Pankri. We appreciate your time, your patience, and we look forward to hosting some more and probably disturbing you again. But I think this will be fruitful for us to be able to engage more with our industry partners and kind of those small issues that are there. Perhaps we'll be able to convert a few more and get them onto understanding the benefits and making them a part of this big scheme that the government's doing. We appreciate your time once again. Pankri, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm really very sorry for the small disruptions because of the power cut and, working from home, it happens basically. So yes, but I think this is a great initiative taken by IPSC. And I would really look forward to more such interaction. And I hope I could make some sense to the industries. I could solve some of your issues, but I'm sure this is not the last. There will be many more of such events, such webinars that we will look forward and try to connect with you. And one thing for sure, I would like to end my speech or my presentation here is like, we have to collectively understand the program. This is one of the program which is, I would say, you can look as future of skilling and future of education, I would say, not only skilling, because globally there a lot of emphasis has been given on apprenticeship, and this is a way forward. If you want to make India as a skill capital, then apprenticeship is something that will play a key role in the in the whole process. So with that note, I would just like to close here and thank everyone for your patient hearing. And sorry for the disruptions again. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks once again, Pankri. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We look forward to hosting you again for a few more sessions in the coming future, not just on apprenticeship, but other programs that we're running as well as part of the Plumb Skills Expo. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, all the participants, for
Thank you,
joining
sir.
in.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
IT
sir.
experience also.
Thank you.
Thank you.